So go ahead and insert a new button on the page and assign it a macro. In this video, I'm going to introduce you to an input box. In this program, we're going to ask the user for a specific value. So for our first input box, we're going to type input box with a capital B, and then first comes the prompt. So we want this box to ask how the user is feeling. So how are you feeling? Next comes the title. We'll title the box question. And then default. Default stands for the default text that is already in the box in which the user inputs their value. So let's just say no comment. So it's going to be a string. After that is your X position, and then followed by your Y position, and then help file and context. The X position is how far from the top left corner of your screen that the input box is when being displayed. Likewise, the Y position is from the top left corner, and it's how far down the input box is. So if we were to say 100, 600, we will see when we click the button that the input box pops up 100 to the right and 600 down. So the input box is towards the lower left-hand corner of your screen. Regardless of what we click, nothing will happen further in the program because we only have the input box coming up. We don't have a result saved. We're going to erase the X and Y so that they're set to a default position because I'm not worried about where the input box pops up at this moment. So now we're going to set our input box and we're going to say result equals, and then we have to put the input box, the content of that box, within parentheses. So now whatever you type in when you hit return or when you click OK, that value or that string is stored into result. And we want result to be a string because we're asking a question that warrants a word response. So we're going to say dim result and as string. Now if we were to run this, the result would be stored, but it's not going to be displayed anywhere for us to see. And we want to see that result. So we're going to say that range A1, so in the cell A1, we want that to display our result. So now when we click the button, it's going to say, how are you feeling? Our default response is no comment. If we click OK, no comment will appear in cell A1. If we want to type in response and say, great, then great will appear in A1. Let's say that we want multiple input boxes so that a user can input multiple responses to a question or to a task. Now let's say that we wanted to add two numbers. So instead of a string, we're going to have variables x and y as an integer data type. So x is going to be our first response to the input box. We're going to say enter first number. The title will be addition because we're going to be adding the numbers. And then we want the default to be 0. Our next input box is going to be y, and we're going to say enter second number. The title again can be addition, and the default response will be 0. So now in A1, we want that to be equal to x plus y. We run this, it's going to say enter the first number, Our first number will be 3. Enter the second number, that will be 2. And then A1, 5 appears. Let's try it again. Say 8 and 7. 15 is our number. So this is just a quick introduction to help you understand input boxes and their parameters.